and welcome to our circle. I hope you guys are ready to learn about something so fun. First, let's go ahead and check our bodies and make sure that we're ready. I'm sitting on the floor, so I'm gonna make sure I'm sitting with my legs crossed, my body straight. I have my listening ears on. Do you have your listening ears on? Let's go ahead and check. I have 1, 2. Can you count yours? All right, let's go ahead and start. So, let's first start by checking let's do the months of the year real quick. We're not gonna sing the whole song, but we're gonna stop at the month that we are currently in. All right, January, February, March. We are still in the month of March. Let's begin our lesson. So, I see some animals on our rug. Let's go ahead and explore what's on our rug first. Do you know what this animal is called? They come in different colors. This one is in green. I have an orange one on my rug. I have a blue one on my rug. These are called frogs. We have frogs on our rug. Here is a picture of a toad. A toad is similar to a frog. I also have pictures of salamanders. Can you say salamanders? So we have frog, toad, and salamanders. They're different animals, but they're all part of a family called amphibians. Can you say amphibians? Amphibians are part of the animal kingdom. We've already learned about birds and mammals, but today we are going to learn about a different class of animals called amphibians. Let's go ahead and explore amphibians. So, amphibians are different from other kinds of animals. We're going to find out what these animals all have in common and what makes an amphibian. You and I are mammals. We are mammals because we have a backbone. We are born in our mother's tummies. We drink milk to stay healthy. We are called mammals. Now, amphibians are very different because all amphibians are born from an egg like this. We talked about birds, and birds are born from eggs too, like this. However, amphibians' eggs are very different from bird eggs. When they hatch from their egg, they don't really look like the animals that we see on this rug. They actually look something like this. Does this look like a frog? That's because amphibians change over time. They go through something called a metamorphosis. That means that they completely change into something else. So once they hatch from the egg, they live the beginning of their lives in water. That means they have to have gills to breathe, just like fish. But they're not fish because they change into a frog. And once they become an adult frog, they use their lungs to breathe. So they go from using their gills to using their lungs. Do you have lungs in your body? Yes, we breathe with our lungs. Remember where our lungs are? We have 1 and 2. Our lungs help us breathe in air. Frogs, amphibians also have lungs. However, their lungs are very, very small. They take very short breaths like this. Do we breathe like that? No, we take big, deep breaths. But these frogs, these amphibians actually have very small lungs and they can't take deep breaths. So they have actually something else that helps them breathe in air that we don't have, and that is their skin. Amphibians use their skin to breathe in air also. But how? I'll show you. Have you ever seen a frog or a toad or a salamander in real life? Have you seen their skin? Our skin is smooth, sometimes a little dry. When we put lotion on, it feels nice and smooth. But an amphibian like a toad or a frog does not have skin like ours. Their skin is actually very, very shiny and slimy. But why? I will show you why. So I'm going to dip this frog into this slime to show you why they have slimy skin. So a frog will actually look like this. It will have very sticky and gooey skin, but that's because they needed to protect themselves from their environment. They also use their skin to breathe in air. Do we use our skin to breathe in air? No, we use our lungs. Frogs have very tiny lungs, so they need their skin. They use their skin also to breathe in oxygen. That's why they need to have very slimy, gooey skin to protect them and to help them breathe in oxygen. If the frog or salamander skin gets too dry, they will not be able to live. They need to make sure that their skins are very, very sticky and slimy to help them live. Let's talk about what amphibians eat, okay? So most amphibians like frogs and toads and salamanders are carnivores. Carnivores mean that they eat other animals. But actually, remember we talked about how amphibians change? First, they start off like little tiny fish with gills. So when they're this small and they live in water, they actually are herbivores. And they eat things that grow from earth. They eat plants and algae and smaller things. But once they transform into their adult bodies, like this frog, they then become carnivores. So they hunt for their food. And I will show you a picture of a frog hunting for their food. Sometimes they take big bites of insects that are around, or they use their tongues to catch something. They use their long tongues that stretch in distances and they grab something to eat. Another thing about amphibians is that they are cold-blooded. You and I are warm-blooded. That means if we go outside and it's very, very cold, our bodies, our temperature stays the same. But if a frog, okay, frogs are cold-blooded, so if their environment changes temperature, they also change temperature with it too. They use their bodies don't automatically regulate their temperature. They rely on their surroundings. So if their surroundings are cold, they will also be cold. If their environments are warm, then they will stay warm. So we are going to read a book, What is an Amphibian? And we're going to explore more about what is an amphibian and what characteristics they share. Amphibians are part of the animal kingdom. Amphibians can live on land and they can live on water. This is a caecilian. A caecilian looks like a worm, but it's thicker and longer. It has no legs and no feet. It has no legs, but it's still an amphibian. And this is a leopard frog. See, the leopard frog lives in the water, but it also lives on land too. Amphibians are cold-blooded. Their body temperature is the same temperature as their surroundings. Amphibians are cold-blooded. We are not cold-blooded. We are warm-blooded. So our temperature does not change according to our surroundings. It stays the same. Oh, we talked about this. Most young amphibians hatch from eggs. Do amphibians hatch from an egg like this? No, this is from a bird. They hatch from eggs like this. Hundreds and hundreds of tiny little eggs that are laid in water. This is an egg of a young salamander. Does it look like a salamander when it's first in its egg? No. Remember, amphibians go through something called metamorphosis, where they completely change. Most young amphibians change in size and shape to become adults. This is a picture of an American toad tadpole. Young amphibians use gills to breathe underwater. This is a young spotted salamander. When amphibians are very young, they live in water and they use gills to breathe. Most adult amphibians use lungs to breathe on land. So once an amphibian grows into its adult form, it's going to use lungs to breathe. Just like us, we have lungs. This is a gray tree frog, and you see their lungs. They breathe in through their nose or their mouth and down into their lungs. Amphibians have mucus on their skin. We just talked about this. They have something called mucus that covers their skin. It's slimy and gooey, but it protects them from their environment and it helps them breathe. Oh, this is very important. Amphibians have a skeleton. They have a skeleton just like you and I, but it's not the same. They have a skeleton to hold their body and to form their body. And they have a backbone. Amphibians have a backbone. Do you have a backbone? Can you touch and feel your backbone? Your backbone's in the back. I feel my backbone. It's hard. It goes up and down. Amphibians have a skeleton. This is a small-mouthed salamander, and look how big his backbone is. Amphibians move in different ways. Some dig, some crawl, some slither, and some jump. This is a leopard frog, and look how far and high he can jump. And that is what an amphibian is. Amphibians are frogs, toads, salamanders, and other long animals like this. Like the Sicilian, which looks like a worm, but it's actually it's thicker and longer, and it has no scales. But you see it's covered in a mucus, in a very thick, slimy, protected mucus that helps them breathe, and it protects them from their environment. And that is what is an amphibian. Amphibians are frogs, they're toads, they're salamanders that are covered with this thick mucus that helps them breathe. When they're first born, they're born in eggs, in water, and amphibians completely go through something called metamorphosis, where they change. They look different from when they're first born to when they start to change, and they look like a complete different animal from when they're first born. I hope you guys enjoyed your lesson on amphibians, and check out all the fun activities that I have posted on Seesaw. You can upload the work that you do. You can have your mom and dad take a picture of it, or you can do it directly on the app. And you can even see other works that your friends did and leave them fun comments or voice messages. I hope you guys had fun, and I'll see you next time.